All right, so we're gonna be doing a little bit of testing, and how are we gonna test it? So I have a concern, and this is purely theoretical. I don't know it to be fact or whatever the case may be, but as I was walking across the far side of the lawn, we'll show you in pictures here in a little bit, it was soft underneath my feet. My experience tells me that when it feels overly soft like that, there's potential for it to be a grub issue. Now, it may 100% not be a grub issue as well. It could be just soft because we ran a damn slit seeder over it. So before we just start picking up the insecticide and making an application just to be safe, it's much easier to test. So we're gonna do a little soap flush just to make sure we're not dealing with any grub pop. Just to make sure we don't have any grub problems, and so that way we can save ourselves an application of an insecticide if we don't have to apply an insecticide. How are we doing this? We're filling up a bucket with some water, and we're gonna put some soap in the sumbitch. So feel free, keep squirting, I'll tell you when to stop. That ought to work right there. So no real measured amount. Could we get super precise with it? Do we need to break out a beaker or a graduated cylinder and take a bulk density before we add it? No, we don't. Let's get a little soap in it. Let's let that mix up for a minute. We'll go dump it, give it 5 minutes, see what comes to the surface, and then make the determination over whether or not we actually need to apply an insecticide. Stick around, there's more to come. All right, so we've got some soap and some water, and we're just gonna pour it here across this area. This is the softest spot I came across, and now we play the waiting game and we'll see what happens. All right, so part 2 of the renovation here, and I want to recap again on what it's like to establish seed without starter fertilizer. In fact, we established seed with no fertilizer at all. We waited 2 weeks after germination and come up to apply our first fertilizer, and as you can see, things are really starting to hum now. This looks great. We didn't need a starter fertilizer. We had ample phosphorus in the soil, even for establishment purposes here. I would say this worked really well. Now, I do want to caveat and say that this is only one example, so therefore it can't be written into stone that you don't need to avoid starter fertilizer to establish grass. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what this does show is that the reliance on starter fertilizer and that stuff, a lot of it can just really be sales and marketing, to be honest, and make you feel like you have to have a starter fertilizer to establish grass. You don't. What's most important is that you at least understand where your baseline soil phosphorus levels are, and if you do have ample, chances are you don't need to apply any. If you don't have enough, if you're low, if you're borderline low, then it might behoove you to go ahead and actually apply some. So what are we doing today? Well, we're applying more fertilizer. We applied about a ½ pound in last week. No, not last week, the week before. We're gonna apply another ½ pound in right now and just get this baby juiced up. We'll probably do one more fertilizer by the end of the year, and then we can likely hang it up and just cut it for the rest of the season. With our next application that we do from this point, we're going to be targeting a lot of the weeds that develop in this yard. And that's why I want to get this growing as vigorously as possible to make it as tolerant as possible to the herbicide applications we're going to be doing. So stick around, because we ain't done yet, damn it. spot.
Please put that in the video.
That's my Southern Baptist.
Yeah, both of us got it.
Daddy, Mommy, leave the rock at my...
You're gonna be all right. Stop. Please don't throw rocks. Please don't slap your brother. All right, so let's put together a game plan from what we're gonna be doing from this point forward. And I gotta tell you, it is so complex what we've got planned from here and moving forward. What we're gonna do is we're gonna mow. We're gonna continue to keep a little bit of water in this. Mailman. Hey, what's up, dude? Say hi.
Yeah.
I think Mailman was stoned. So this is going to be how complex it is. We're going to adjust water based on the amount of rainfall we get. If we get rainfall, we'll turn off the water. If we don't get rain, we'll turn on the water. We're going to cut the grass when it needs to be cut. When do we need to time that? It doesn't matter. It's up now at this point. We don't have to worry about it. It's at probably 3.5 inches, 4 inches. We're going to set the mower to the highest setting and we'll just start cutting it. We're not going to be finicky about the height of cut or any of that. Literally, it's tall fescue. You can't screw this up. You just water when it doesn't rain and you cut it when it needs to be cut. Then we just got down our second fertilizer. We're going to wait probably a month before we fertilize again. And we're probably going to wait a month of cuts, cutting it probably weekly, because now we've got it juiced to the gills, right? We'll have to cut it weekly, maybe even every 5 days or so. We'll give it another 3 weeks, 4 weeks, somewhere in there, and then we'll spray the weeds in it. And that is going to be it. So to recap the complexity of that, we're going to water, mow, spray the weeds in it, and then fertilize it one more time before it goes dormant. And that will complete the renovation. That will complete the renovation. The fun part is going to be seeing how this looks in the spring, right? Because we can try and dial in and get every little tiny bare spot with the perfect amount of coverage through it. But here's the thing, ultra dense coverage like that a lot of times is one of our biggest leading contributors to the amount of disease pressure we face, especially when you're somewhere that is hot and extremely humid. So I'm not too worried about perfect 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch seed density. Forget all that. We'll work with what we got. We're not going to spend any extra money on seed. We're not going to spend money on things we don't need to spend money on. We're doing this cheap, easy, simple. And that is what we got in store for you. Stick around, more to come.